to that great source that keeps all of us living and breathing in a fully functioning way.
Dr. Wayne Dyer is a best-selling author, lecturer, and modern philosopher. He holds a doctorate in counseling psychology and is America's leading teacher of transformational wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very kindly. We are here in a very special place. We are in the very church where, on the very setting, where Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson's grandfather, was the minister here when the American Revolution began, and the shot heard round the world was fired just a little ways within walking distance of where we're standing. And it is a very special time for me because in my writing place, which is a very private place, I don't write with a computer. I don't write with a typewriter. I put my left hand on the table and I take my right hand with a ballpoint pen and I have a pad of legal size paper and I allow whatever comes through to come through my heart and onto the page. And in that writing space, I have had a picture of two people on my desk. The two people that have been on my desk have been Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was called by many America's teacher, a man who just took the ideas that he felt burning in his breast and talked about them regardless of what others around might have felt or thought. He gave an address at the Harvard School of Divinity and wasn't invited back for 33 years because of the things that he said about how he felt man should become self-reliant and how spirituality ought to serve man rather than frighten him. On the other side of my desk is a picture of a man named Henry David Thoreau. And Thoreau was a man who decided even to go to prison rather than pay his taxes to a government who was doing some things that at that time he considered an abomination. And he went off to Walden Pond to live and wrote in his journal, "Simplify, simplify, simplify," to which Emerson reportedly responded, "I think one simplify would have sufficed." At any rate, these two giants, along with Bronson Alcott, who was the father of Louisa May Alcott, who wrote Little Women and so many other powerful books about the rights of a woman to be treated with equality at a time when such things weren't even considered. These were people who took stands on abolition when it was not a easy thing to do. They were stops here along the Underground Railroad to help people, fugitive slaves who were escaping. These people took these kinds of stands and held meetings at the Concord School of Philosophy to discuss an American approach to contributing something that we call now self-reliance, one of Emerson's most famous essays. And I am honored to be here in the same city, on the same site, in a building that has been rebuilt, but where Emerson's grandfather was the minister. So Concord was very accommodating to us to put this program together. And what this program is about is what I call my, with apologies to David Letterman, my top 10. He does a top 10 every night, and of course they're very amusing. These are my top 10 principles for living a life of success and a life of inner peace. I've been invited many, many times to give graduation addresses, in high schools and universities, and I've attended many of them when my own children have graduated, and I've attended at my own graduations at various times in my life. And most of the time, these speeches revolve around certain kinds of themes. One of the themes that they revolve around is success involves working hard and setting goals and listening to your elders and putting aside for the future and all kinds of nose to the grindstone advice about becoming successful later on if you follow these principles. This isn't what this program is about. I have put together what I think are principles that you can live and practice and go to work at each and every day, but these principles don't allow you to become just like everybody else. They're not designed to have you fit in. They're not designed to have you have a life of material success necessarily and defining your success that way, or to feel a sense of inner peace based upon making a connection to something that someone else tells you is what you need to be connected to. These are my principles that I've lived, and it's very difficult for me to tell you to respect your elders and to have other people's opinions be the things that you should use to follow in making your own decisions in life when I've hardly ever done that myself. And I've often said in my talks over the years that any success that I have experienced in my life is really in spite of my education rather than because of it. And it isn't because I am putting down education. I've been an educator all my life and a teacher at all levels, from grade school to junior high school, through high school, professor at several universities, and I have lectured extensively all over the world as a teacher. And I never, ever take this responsibility lightly. But I really believe that inside each and every one of us, we must find our own way of fulfilling and actualizing ourselves as human beings. And no one else out there can direct us or tell us how to do that. It has to be something that comes from within. One of the books that I read when I was very young was handed to me by a man I respected a great deal. And in it, it was written by Napoleon Hill, and it was called Think and Grow Rich. And it wasn't a book about how to make money and how to get rich. It was really a book that was transformative when I read it at the age of 18, which taught how to have a deeper and a richer experience of life. And that the people who are able to have this deeper and richer experience of life were not necessarily those who did things the way they were told to do things. In fact, what they had that seemed to distinguish them more than anything else from those who didn't achieve a measure of success and inner peace in their lives was something that he called a burning desire. And this burning desire is something that I can identify with very, very strongly. I am just turned 61 years old. And at the age of 61, I can honestly say to you that I have never really in my life experienced something called scarcity. I grew up in a series of foster homes, and my life was not one of having things handed to me. I've had to earn whatever I've had to earn along the way, and I've done everything from drive delivery trucks and work as a cashier. I used to, as a doctoral student, ring out the groceries of my students that I was teaching, and take their bags out and hope that my students would give me a tip. I mean, I've been out there working, all right, all my life. But one thing that I've known and I've experienced and I remember from looking at the lives of people who have been able to establish themselves as successful, if you will, is that they have this thing called a burning desire. And a burning desire is not like any other desire. I mean, all of us have desires. I mean, if you want to eat your dinner, you have to have a desire to go get the food, or move from one room to another, or put the food onto a plate and heat it up, or whatever. Desire just comes with being human, living in a human body. A burning desire is something very different. A burning desire is like having an inner candle flame that never flickers. Though the worst goes before you, this thing can't be put out. No one out there can ever tell you, you can't do this or you can't have this. In fact, when other people do tell you you can't have it or you can't do it, all it does is, for those who have that burning desire, is reinforce that this is something I am going to be able to accomplish. And I will use your skepticism and I will use the doubt that you provide to motivate me even further. And I've always felt that in my life, that even when I lived in a home where there were a group of children, I was the one that always had a little bit of money jingling in my pockets because I would sleep with the snow shovel at night when it would snow. And I'd wake myself up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I would take that snow shovel out and I would shovel the snow of all of the houses in the neighborhood without even asking anybody if they'd like it shoveled. And then I'd go back and knock on the door, and I was cute. I was a cute little kid. I had this blonde hair. I know that's hard to imagine. I've sent it all away now. And I would just stand there and say, I shoveled your snow for you. And sometimes I would get a nickel or a dime. I even got a quarter on a couple of occasions. That doesn't sound like much, but that was 1946, 47. That's equivalent to $6,000 in today's money, all right? And I can remember the other kids always saying, Wayne is the one that had money jingling in his pocket. And it wasn't because I had any special abilities that the others didn't have. It was because I had this thing called a burning desire to be able to have within me whatever I needed to be able to purchase the things that I wanted. And that burning desire has been something I've had with me, and it's why I put a program together just like this. Because I believe so strongly in the message of public television. I believe so strongly in the idea that we have a spiritual deficit in this country, and that we don't have an information deficit. There's plenty of that. But there's a deficit of spirit, a deficit that says there's not enough of us that feel connected to the highest and the greatest part of ourselves. And these top 10 principles that I have put together here for this program, you might want to jot down. You might want to go into your desk and just take out a little piece of paper. But I think if you practice them and look at them and see them, they come from someone who's had a burning desire, but has also been living a life in which I have felt independent of the opinions of others in terms of whether or not I should or shouldn't be doing that. There's something that I allow to consult myself, within myself, rather than looking outside to see if this is right or not. And so let me just I'll number them and I'll go through them and I'll give you some examples of them, and you decide whether they're to your liking or whether they work or not. The first of these principles came from a Vedantic scholar in the 10th century. His name was Tilopa. It's not exactly bestseller books, but it's the kind of thing that really excites me, because I think of going back 1,000 years or 2,000 years and reading what some of the greatest minds had to say, and